Well, we joined the Green Acres programme in spring 2019. We're currently rearing about between 110 and 120 Frisian bull calves per year. All our calves were sourced off farm last spring, which worked out well for us. We started sowing Red Start back a few years ago. The Red Start was probably the best option for us because it was a hybrid crop and it meant that we could sow late in the year up into the 10th or 12th of August, so we weren't taking up land in June and July when we need it for grazing. We discarrowed land before seeding, 2 to 3 runs of discarrow, 1 run of power harrow and seed. Fertilising of the crop, I suppose, before we'd spray off the land or shortly after spraying it off, we would either give it a good coat of farmyard manure or slurry. At seeding, we would get a bag of granular lime to neutralise the pH and 3 bags of 10-10-20 with the seed. After that then, maybe 3 to 4 weeks after sowing, if I thought it needed a little bit of a push, we'd maybe give it a bag to 2 bags of 18-6-12. The weanlings went out on the kale or the Red Start on the 4th of November. They were weighed, dosed and they got a mineral bolus before they went out just to keep the iodine levels up. I use a bolus or I can use a drench, whichever works best at the time, but it's important to keep the mineral side right. They also get a seaweed lick on the kale all the time as well while they're on it. I would restrict the kale for the first 2 to 3 weeks, give them a small bit, gradually rise the amount of kale that they get and keep all the silage they could eat, good quality silage that they could eat in front of them. Now we're about 6 weeks on it, 5 to 6 weeks on the kale, so we're getting about 50% silage, 50% kale. The silage was tested and it's 73 DMD. There's 75 calves or weanlings on the kale at the minute it's in 3 different blocks. So there's 11.5 acres in total, so around 3.5 or so acres in each block. With each block also, as I found out to my cost, the first year I sowed it, you need about 1 acre to 2 acres of a lie back, somewhere dry where the cattle can go back and lie with shelter is very important. So to have that, each block has some of that. Then we just have a temporary fence wire that we move once a day up to the front of the kale, and the weanlings then can eat back about 2.5 to 3 foot of the kale without damaging it. The weanlings that are on the kale would have been the strongest of this year's calves, if you want to call that. They were averaging about 250 kilos on the 4th of November. If the 75 weanlings had been housed for the winter, they would be eating probably in the region of 16 to 18 bales of silage a week compared to 7 to 8 on the kale, so it's a huge saving on silage as well. And I also don't have to feed any concentrate on the kale. I'm able to get the same or better performance with kale and silage as I would with concentrate and silage in the shed. We'll be looking to try and get 0.6 of a kilo of weight gain per day on the kale, and if we can achieve that, we will be hoping the animals will be somewhere around 310 kilos by the end of February or somewhere around there. If you have a mild winter, after the end of February it can start going to seed and then you have to take the animals off it anyway, so you'll be aiming to be out of the crop by the end of February or definitely by the first couple of days of March. Because the weanlings are out on a forage crop and they're on clay all the time, they're done with the 10-in-1 vaccination along with their IBR and pneumonia boosters. But it's important, the 10-in-1 is very important, the fact that they're on clay all the time for the winter. As regards to ground conditions, I'd be very lucky. The land here will be sandy, stony land, free draining, so it doesn't get that awful mucky or wet. And even if it does, a day or two's drying and it's back perfect again. We are lucky with that in this part of the country. It does suit the crop that way.